Now, the owner of the Telegram app seems to have been arrested in France, and Elon Musk is tweeting about it. It also shows why Twitter cannot be 100% free speech, which is what a lot of people are demanding, and a lot of people are upset that Elon Musk is still censoring. They're still having trust and safety councils, and the reason is this: it's that actual governments will try to arrest people that are creating social medias that do not have moderation. And this actually happened recently with Twitter in regards to Brazil. They had to shut down their Brazilian offices because there was pressure by the Brazilian government. So we cannot have a free speech platform while governments are convincing people that no, actually censorship and moderation is amazing. Now, as you guys know, I got born during the communist time period of Romania, and I did live a little bit under it, but it fell shortly after I was born. However, the culture still remained. And one of the interesting things that I found out, like one of the reasons people really despised communism, wasn't just because of the economy and the shortages and the lack of warm up water and electricity, or the fact that there was no democracy. No, like the main reason that people hated was the fact that they felt as if they have no privacy whatsoever. There were even jokes back then that the greatest communist invention was a substance called microconcrete. And microconcrete was like one layer of microphones, one layer of concrete, one layer of microphones, one layer of concrete. The idea was that the government would spy on you every time. And there were even popular movies in Romania. One is called The Most Beloved People on Earth, where a male is intercepted from an academic, I believe, from Romania, talking with someone from abroad, and they misinterpret what was in that mail, so they arrest him as a political prisoner. But again, the main thing, the essence of communism was the complete abolition of privacy. Like, you knew that everything you say, everything you do is being monitored. Now, whether or not they were actually monitoring people, whether or not they actually had the ability, that is questionable and doubtful. However, they did create the public perception that you do not have any freedom, that you do not have any privacy. And the different system, the opposite to that, was the United States, right? So while fascist nations and dictatorships would make sure that every single letter is under the potential of being read, that every single phone conversation was under the potential of being listened into, that every joke you say could have reached the ear of an informant, in America, it wasn't like that, right? Like, in America, the government couldn't do, at least in theory, right? The ideology was that it's a free nation, so the government doesn't listen in on your phone calls unless they have a court warrant. They don't just listen in to your private conversations. They do not open your postal packages. That was what a free nation looks like, right? Because they trust the citizen to behave. But unfortunately, as we're looking at what's happening in Europe, the move is completely the opposite. The move is towards the complete abolition of any symbol of privacy whatsoever. So in an era where people are moving more and more towards the internet, like people do not use the postal office anymore to send letters to each other, they just write an email. Where people do not just pick up the phone and call someone, they either use WhatsApp or Discord. In this era, every single platform, every single means of communication not only has to be listened in and moderated, but if possible, even AI should be implemented so that everything you say, everything you do online, needs to be placed under the microscope. Now, obviously, this is done in order to fight crime, right? Like, obviously, this is done in order to, as we see here, is to fight against money laundering, is to fight against terrorism, is to fight against illegal material. So people are convinced that, no, actually, it's for your own good. It's the same thing that used to be pushed in the United States, and Americans actually resisted this. It's like, if you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear. until Snowden actually revealed that the government had something to hide and they had a lot to fear, which is why they went after him, right? So again, like, the citizen, the average citizen is placed under a microscope while the government gets to remain opaque. Like, one of the biggest criticisms of my lifetime is actually the Pfizer contracts between the European Union and the Pfizer company, because they were very opaque. So, like, you're requiring people to make medical decisions while you're not showing 100% transparency, right? So when it comes to the governments, like they get to be opaque. Like maybe, you know, those contracts were giving certain perks to politicians. Maybe they were giving like certain perks. We don't know, right? Because, well, I guess if they have nothing to hide, they have nothing to fear. Oh wait, they do, right? So, like, on one hand, average citizen needs to have their entire life on a microscope, but when it comes to politicians, when it comes to the government itself, no, they get to remain opaque. And I think, like, this is what upsets a lot of individuals. The other thing, we can actually notice how the communists and the Secret Service used to handle the information back then. Because, again, like, back then under the Soviet Union, and I'm pretty sure under fascist Italy and Nazi Germany, they also had good causes to censor. Like, they would also sell the censorship to the people as benevolent, as is required in order to live in a healthy and law-abiding society. But the reality, when you look at history, you'll notice, oh, someone wanted to become a prosecutor or something. You know, someone wanted to become a politician. Someone wanted to get a position that would compete with the boss's son. Well, all of a sudden, you know, they go through the files, they will see his entire life history, and they will see if they can find anything to use against him. Like, maybe he said an edgy joke. Maybe he said something at the expense of the dear leader. Maybe he was talking with someone that he shouldn't be talking to. You know, another person that got convicted for something, and he was talking with that person. Well, what would they have in common? So it was used as a cudgel. It was used as a way in order to prevent the wrong people from attaining important positions, in order to stifle criticism. And we actually get to see this being used in the UK now. Like, there were a lot of people arrested for tweeting emojis and just tweeting stuff that the government doesn't like. And they were, like, doing it on social media, right? So, like, the complete abolition of free speech, like, what those British people did would have never been a crime in the United States of America. But you get to see just what happens when the governments gain power, and then the people, because the government is the de facto party in charge, right? Like, the people in charge can use that power in order to suppress their political opponents, or to suppress ideas that the political opponents are holding, so that it makes it very difficult for the opponents to campaign against them. And this is why Telegram is actually very popular in Russia, because there's a lot of people that are using Telegram against the regime. And even in Ukraine, like, there's people using Telegram, right? The officials from Kiev are using Telegram, and officials from Russia are using it. I personally never used it, but again, I do see that the move is towards the abolition of any type of platform that is unmoderated. And they're not going after the criminals, they're going after the platform owners. In other words, I guess the mentality would be like going after the postal office, because some people exchange letters talking about how to rob a bank, and then you're holding the postal office responsible. Or you're holding the phone company responsible because, you know, a couple of bank robbers contacted the getaway driver. And you're blaming the phone company for not listening in to people's private phone conversations and stopping the robbery from taking place. Like this is how it would have looked like if it was in the 70s with the technology that was available in the 70s. But I guess, like, because this is a different type of technology and people are more reliant on it, like, for some reason it's fine. Again, like a lot of liberal nations, a lot of Western democracies, they used to have these things called wiretapping laws where it's illegal to wiretap someone's private conversation. And they still do. Like, they still do. It's kind of funny. Like, in the United States, there are certain places where they can't actually listen into your phone conversations, but they can definitely listen into your Discord conversations or what you say while playing Xbox or while using voice chat in various apps. And what I notice is that there's no pushback against this. Like, this is actually the desired outcome. This is what people want. Like, people want less privacy, and people want their Alexas in their home listening in. And it's not just about the government, but when you think about it, there's private companies that spy on you in order to give you different advertisements. Like it's getting to where people were watching the Black Mirror episode and they were afraid of it. It's getting to that. Like it's getting to the point where if you have access to all the information, you can just pinpoint every single aspect of a person's life. And using AI, you will probably be able to pinpoint their political preferences, to pinpoint their hobbies, what they like to do, their close family members, their circle of friends, to pinpoint every problematic or things that they said which can get them canceled, and so on and so forth. So we're getting to that point, and I do think that it's going to be used mostly against the citizens rather than the politicians. Like despite the fact that this is allegedly used to prevent money laundering, I have a feeling that even after privacy is abolished, people will still money launder. And no one would put the blame on the politicians, like, okay, well, you wanted this system in order to protect us from the evil money laundering, and yet money laundering is still happening. Who's going to be held responsible for this? Like, who's going to be... That never happens. That conversation is never happening. So anyway, right, let me know what you guys think, and as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.